keep talking or
No,
no?
please wait. I'm trying. President Kalinowski, you have 40 minutes.
40 minutes, okay. The other couple mental notes I was making is like the listening sessions, you and I had talked about maybe having like a theme. We just don't get great participation. So we were thinking, and we can discuss this at another board meeting when John's here as well, but you know, maybe, and Jen, you and I have talked about this too, like maybe it'd be better to have a specific topic that we're there to talk about, and people who are interested engage with us in that way. And then I think we probably need to put some structure to the community events. If board members are going to be involved in community events, we probably need to figure out, you know, who and when and what. So those are probably a couple of my action items.
I would agree.
Okay. Any other thoughts from the board on it? Looks great.
Next is Centegics, Mr. Kramer.
Is it live, Ken?
You can push that one.
At least you
So I brought them over. I did test them too, just to make sure.
To end this board meeting early.
Yeah.
Mr. Kramer, we're ready.
Good evening, Superintendent Sawyer, President Kalinowski, and members of the board. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to provide a safety and security update on a new and very exciting system that we are implementing this year called Centegics Crisis Alert. As always, we want to start with our purpose to create a culture of accountability that achieves the best academic and developmental outcomes for each student. And following this purpose, we are committed to maintaining a safe and secure learning environment for our students, staff, and community. So in this light, we are continuously looking for ways in which we can increase the security of our campus, which led us to this new system that we are implementing within our schools. So today, I want to outline why we are implementing Centegics Crisis Alert, first of all, and then explain what the system can actually do in our environment. Highlight the 2 alerts that all staff members can use in the event of an emergency, and describe our implementation process and kind of where we are right now. So to begin, I think it's important to explain the school environment when an incident occurred before the implementation of Centegics Crisis Alert. So in our schools, we do not have panic buttons installed in our classrooms or cafeterias, and the majority of our staff members inside of our buildings do not carry radios. They are mainly restricted to our administration, our nurses, and in some cases, our front office secretaries. Therefore, when an incident occurs and the staff member needs to call for help, they previously would have to get to their classroom phone or take out their cell phone and find the correct number, or simply call out for help. Centegics Crisis Alert now empowers every staff member to quickly alert a response team at their school with a simple click of a button. This drastically increases the speed of communication and allows for responders at each building to intervene faster, resulting in keeping students and staff safer than we have before. So what is it? Centegics Crisis Alert is a wearable communication device that all staff members in the district will have to quickly notify a response team at each building in case of an emergency. It It is a simple, cost-effective way for us to increase the safety and security of our campus with a simple click of a button. The system is fairly simple and straightforward. Sorry, if you could go to the next slide. It consists of individual staff badges, strobes in our classroom and our hallways, gateways on the outside of our buildings to both receive the signal from the badges and send the signal to the strobes, and beacons to extend the signal. I brought an example of a strobe with you that I put in front of you, Ms. Kalinowski, and badges. And so those Centric badges are not active, so you can push that button and see what that feels like when a staff member calls for an alert. Crisis alert is a location-based notification system. So what does that mean? It is activated, it knows where you are when you activate an alert. The district consists of 6 sites. So each school building is a site, and the 6th site consists of the administrative office, the annex, and the McCoy. When a staff member goes between sites and calls an alert, their badge will notify a response team closest to them, increasing communication and lowering response time to an incident. Additionally, the system is created to extend the signal outside of the building to cover areas such as parking lots in our stadium. So if we have an incident and an event outside of school hours, the system can be used by all staff members. So using the badge, all staff members can call for 2 types of alerts. The first alert for the majority of incidents is a simple 3-button click following the phrase, "I need help." Examples of when a staff member would push the button 3 times is when for incidents that they can't resolve themselves. So we're talking about medical emergency with themselves or with a student altercation, a student that's in crisis, or maybe a staff member sees a suspicious person on campus. They're going to push their button 3 times, "I need help," and it will instantly send an alert to a response team closest to them. The second type of alert that the system empowers all staff members to activate in the event of a direct campus threat is a lockdown at their site following the phrase, "We need help." So we're trying to use that with our staff. I need help, 3-button click, and we need help. An example would be if a staff member saw someone with a weapon approaching a building. By repeatedly pressing the button, a lockdown would be activated at their specific site. So what happens in a staff alert? So again, if you push the button 3 times, "I need help," an immediate notification is sent to a response team at that specific site. Response teams have been constructed at each of our sites consisting of administrators, school counselors, and our nurses. When an alert occurs, "I need help," all the responders at that site receive 2 things, the desktop takeover and a notification on their cell phone. It displays a map of the building, the location of the alert, you can see in this picture, it would be the red dot, and the staff member that triggered that alert. So it specifically comes up, it's very small, but it'll say staff alert, and it says the room number, and it also says the specific person that pushed that alert. Another thing about the map that comes to the phone into the desktop takeover is that red dot will move with the person as they move in the building. So if we have a student in crisis that is fleeing, the staff member can pursue that student and that red dot will follow, and the administrative team will know where to go to provide that help. So that red dot is not stagnant, but it from the information, the response team can quickly act following our typical procedures. The desktop takeover and phone notification overrides all other applications on the responses device. So if there was to be an alert right now on our campus, you would see, well, you wouldn't see because my computer isn't mirrored, but on my computer screen, it would come to the front over top of my presentation right now and tell me exactly, it'll show me that exact alert and tell me where to go. The badges are specific to a location. So again, we talked about if I push an alert while I'm in the annex versus the primary versus the high school, it alerts different response teams. However, the responders are notified no matter where they are, so on or off campus, so that they're able to take an action. So an example would be we have an irate parent that confronts a bus driver after a field trip at 10 p.m. and they're in the photo road lot. The bus driver can push that 3 times, "I need help," and the high school response team will get an alert, and then they can call the police, they can call that driver, and they can intervene to provide that support. So that is for a 3-button push, I need help. So what happens in the case of a lockdown? So in the event that a staff member calls a lockdown, additional actions occur. First, the strobe light that you have in front of you turns red and will flash red in our classrooms and our hallways. An announcement over the PA system at that site will provide instructions to students and staff about locking down. A desktop takeover occurs on every staff laptop and iPad at that site, explaining to initiate a lockdown. It looks slightly different. It would be like this example. So it's just going to come up to the front and tell that staff member to lock down and get their students safe. And the responder group will still receive the same notifications. So it's a desktop takeover for the responder group, as well as the alerts to the phone that a lockdown has been called. When a lockdown is called using the system, the New Albany Police Department is also instantly notified, saving precious time. So all of these things result in immediate communication and faster intervention for staff members and responders in the event of a lockdown. So what is our implementation process? Where are we at? What does this look like? So we began in early August with the installation of the gateways, beacons, and strobes in all of our school buildings and at the administrative office. We are continuing our installation process at the high school, middle school cafeteria, the annex, and the McCoy Center to ensure full coverage of our campus. And then we will test the system to make sure it has the coverage as expected and add other beacons as necessary. Our training process for the staff has included a presentation on the crisis alert system, outlining everyone's shared responsibility for the safety of our campus. All staff members sign a Centegix badge agreement, outlining the specific ways they need to take care of their badge every day. And every staff member has an opportunity to test their badge by pushing it 3 times to make sure it connects with the system. And they do that with a badge manager at every one of our sites. This past week, we conducted lockdown drills at all of our sites to test the strobe lights and the desktop takeovers, and we're learning a lot from that experience. We continue to work with Centegix to ensure all software and equipment is working properly. Moving forward, we will be working with the building and district administrators to review emergency processes that already exist in the district to add Centegix crisis alert where necessary. The system is currently active. So if we were to, again, to get an alert in the building, that 3-button push works. However, the lockdown feature is in drill mode currently. So it's active, but it's not live. And so in the near future, we've already worked with Chief Jones at the police department, and we will be working with their communications team to connect with 911 dispatch and then set a go live date for the district. And so at that point, that means that in the event of a lockdown, that instant communication would go to the police department. So as I conclude, I want to take this opportunity to thank Superintendent Sawyers and Treasurer Jenkins, the representatives from Centegix, and all of our staff members for their support as we've been implementing this new system. We are excited about the opportunity and additional layer of support Centegix Crisis Alert adds to our environment. This is truly a game changer when it comes to increasing speed of communication and the ability for our staff members to let us know so that we can intervene faster. We believe that these updates will help to continue to achieve the best academic and development outcomes for each student in a safe and secure learning environment. Thank you, and I will open it up for any questions that you have.
Say thank you for foresight to put this system in. I'm glad we have it. My understanding is that this is the same software, the same system that was in place in Georgia.
That's
recently.
Correct. Yep, we can confirm that with them.
Saw some videos, firsthand accounts of teachers saying what a difference it made that they actually got to the thread for, I mean, unfortunately, obviously horrific situation, but got to them before there was gunfire. And so thank you, and let's get this going as soon as we can, as I guess is my hope. One question I did have, like, can you have multiple alerts, and how does the additional red dots show up on that screen?
Yep. Great question. Yeah. So the system will take as many alerts that occur. The responder groups have been trained to not turn off any alerts until we resolve that incident. So exactly right. So we'll say a student in crisis in the hallway. You might have 3 people click "I need help" at the same time. All 3 red dots would show up on that map.
And I was thinking about the the education process in the schools for students, making them aware that this system now exists. And if there's not an expectation that students have access to this system.
They should not have access to it.
And
Correct.
if they did, it would be unauthorized,
Correct.
right? So they'd have to be made aware of that. But also more practically, if a teacher was incapacitated because of a medical emergency, students knowing how to use the teacher's badge, is that something that we'd have an expectation for them?
You bring up an excellent point. This is our process of rolling this out and communicating both with our staff internally and now externally with our community. So we have not talked in depth about communicating with students and allowing them to have access. All communication really has been with staff about taking care of your badge, where to place it, not giving it out to students. There are some courses that are naturally set up where a staff member might not have their badge up. That could be an art classroom or a science classroom or a physical education classroom. So I know our building principals are working closely with specific teacher needs based on those type of situations, but we haven't really spoken in depth of what we would do to train students, and then at what buildings would we work on doing that, what's age appropriate. So I think those are where future conversations are going.
Right. Is the bus transportation building included in as a site?
Yes, all of our drivers and our mechanics also have these badges.
But not the physical building, I think is Mark's question.
Correct. The transportation department does not have strategics at that site.
Only on main campus, the ELC.
This is intended to be worn at a lanyard.
Yep. So it is, yeah. So the way that we've taught our staff is to wear it behind your ID, so to protect that button. And it's also discreet. So if you are in, we'll say, confronted by an angry parent, you can quickly click 3 times and the parent may not even know that you're pressing a button. But it also protects it. So yes, that's how we've instructed our staff.
And you mentioned, I need help and we need help. That's just helpful memorization to know to hit it 3 times. You don't have to give a verbal statement.
Correct. Correct.
Just remember, I need help is 3 pushes, 3 clicks.
And so the signal back to the individual, when you click it 3 times and it's active, so it didn't work for you, but it vibrates once in your hand. And for a full lockdown, it will vibrate twice in your hand. That's how you know, as a staff member, you clicked it enough time. But the I need help, yes, is to remember to push it 3 times.
This is great. It's very reassuring to know that we have an added layer of security and communication on campus.
There it is. Did you send a text to somebody?
That's the alert.
So that's what it sounds like when you're a responder.
What is it? What is that alert?
That's
And then it comes up.
And then this takes over your computer, so you actually get to see what happens to your computer.
So how do you initiate the lockdown?
I did it while I was sitting here.
He did it on his app, but he would do it, he would push this button 8 times.
Or you just, we just
Oh,
tell,
you
just
just keep clicking
keep
it.
pushing it. You don't have to
Yeah,
keep
yeah.
count. Just push it until you get a double vibration. It's more than 3. You will know.
I was gonna ask if you wanted to test the system.
That-
So is that
I found that
alarm,
answer.
that's on
It's on the.
system-wide? You'd hear that
Yes.
anywhere in the,
So the alert that you heard, that buzzer, is coming from our cell phones for responders. If you're in the building, you would hear an announcement, the strobe lights would flash red, you would get the desktop takeover, as Michael just showed you, in every staff computer and iPad.
And if you weren't near a desktop or your phone, if you heard the alert, the announcement would tell you why the alert went off.
Yes, exactly. So there's a visual component, an audio component, and the desktop takeover. So it comes to the front of whatever you're doing.
Given the close proximity of our buildings, particularly on this part of campus, so if a building calls, it indicates a lockdown, what is the impact on the surrounding buildings?
So right now, the way that we have talked about it from our process and procedure and the way we have it set up in Centegix, one site at a time could go into lockdown. And then we quickly get on the radios to understand why are they in lockdown to determine other lockdowns. When a school goes into lockdown, the only people to lift the lockdown is the police department. So if by chance we do have an accidental push, we have a younger child who grabs it and just starts pushing it, and we'll just say the ELC goes into lockdown. We want to make sure that's a legitimate lockdown to consider other lockdowns. But that's how the system is set up right now. The responders at all sites will know that that building is in lockdown. Versus a typical response, I need help, is only a localized response.
It enhances the existing processes that are already in place within the school district. This just is an enhancement to that to ensure a faster response. And to Paul's point, at the end of the day, every second counts. It's real.
As you said, there's plans in place already, but this doesn't track the location of the threat. But there's other, I don't want to know publicly like what that is, but I presume between the police and the district, there's instructions to our staff as to how to communicate the location of the threat.
Correct. So for all alerts, I need help for a lockdown event. Before you clear before you clear the alert, you have to say the reason why for data tracking purposes, so we have some understanding. But in the moment, you're right, we would know the people that are pushing the alert, but we wouldn't know the exact location, but it helps a lot. Working with our SROs already, they said this would cut our communication time down tremendously. Chief Jones said part of their procedure is to start in one wing and clear wings until they hear something. And so they would know right away where to go, really speeds up their intervention time.
Again, this is a system that will enhance existing systems on the school campus. We already go through a formalized process with the New Albany Police Department, Plain Township Fire Department, and Ohio Homeland Security to approve confidential safety plans on our school campus. Those have always existed. This is enhancing those safety plans, but to Paul's point, there are aspects of our safety plans that are not discussed publicly because it is information only for first responders and school officials to protect the safety and welfare of children. But we have a very robust process that we go through with Homeland Security. Any other questions for Mr. Kramer?
It's great, thank you, Ken.
Thank you.
Whatever you use.
Yeah. Now for discussion items, beginning with board liaison reports. Do we have any reports this evening?
I didn't attend the most recent township trustees meeting, but there's one this week and I will be attending.
Financial committee, we have our meeting in October that we'll go through. And then for PTO liaison, I reached out to all the PTO presidents to offer coming to a fall and a spring meeting, similar to how other liaisons attend city meetings or township meetings, so I can report back to the board on all the great things happening in our PTOs. So that invitation has been extended, and I'm looking at scheduling dates for the ones that have responded to go and just hear what they're doing. I think that's great. All right, now may I have a motion and a second for treasurer's item A, please?
So moved.
Second?
Mr. Newmoff and Mr. Wilson, treasurer Jenkins.
Thank you. The monthly financials, this is for August, so we're 2 months into the fiscal year. In total, we are 0.46% lower than what I anticipated in revenue collection. The biggest part of that is real estate tax. So we're going to want to watch that to see whether or not that's just a change in when people are paying their taxes, or if that's actually, or if we have more delinquent taxes being paid. We'll know that when we get to the end of collections in the spring. And then income tax sharing was down about $188,000 from anticipation. I expect that is just timing. And then on our expenditures, we are 3.15% lower in total than what our projected expenditures are for the month, or for the fiscal year to date. So about $400,000 lower in total. The bulk of that is personnel and benefits. And then a portion is also the permanent or the capital outlay, which we don't spend unless we really have to because we have permanent dollars. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Two negative items on revenues, but you think it's just timing.
Ms. Jenkins, please call the roll.
Vice President Newman,
Yes.
Mr. Wilson, Ms.
Yes,
Fuller,
Yes.
President Kalinowski.
Yes, and the motion carries. Now may I have a motion and a second for superintendent's items A through C, please?
So moved.
Second. Mr. Newmoff and Ms. Fuller, Superintendent Sawyers.
President Kalinowski, members of the board, letter A for personnel. We continue to try to fill the remaining vacancies for the 2024-25 school year. We're approving athletic supplementals or corrections to athletic supplementals by title that were mistaken on the last Board of Education agenda. Amending contracts based upon hours. So we do have some classifications, specifically when a bus driver becomes an aide or a van driver becomes an aide, we have to adjust hours based upon the route they went through the bid process, but give them still the opportunity to work in the other job classification if they're successful within the employment process. So those appear this evening under letter A. Letter B, I'm going to start with the addendum again to recall you are approving the recommendation this evening to approve the 2024-25 continuous improvement plan for the school district that will then trigger other actions on my behalf, on behalf of the board with employees. In addition to that, call your attention to one other thing, and it's the cooperative bid process. So I am recommending this evening, based upon the review that Ms. Jenkins and I did, that we submit to Meta solutions for the cooperative advertisement and receiving bids specifically related to school transportation for the purchase of 2 school buses. So we buy them as part of the co-op to get the best price possible, because sometimes it's actually less than the state term price that's been guaranteed, to go through the cooperative purchasing process at the same time. So we are recommending that continue this evening. Letter C for donations. As always, we're very grateful for everyone that so generously supports our school district. Tonight's no exception. You'll see different types of things that happen, for back to school events to supporting specific athletic accounts, camp accounts, or specific teams, the robotics team. It's just wonderful that there's so many businesses or individuals within our community that want to support specific elements of our kids' programs, and you see elements of that tonight on the agenda. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Ms. Jenkins, please call the roll.
Vice President Newmaw,
Yes.
Ms. Fuller, Mr. Wilson,
yes.
President Kalinowski.
Yes, and the motion carries. That brings us to adjournment this evening. May I have a motion and a second to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. Mr. Wilson and Ms. Fuller. Ms. Jenkins, please call the roll.
Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Ms. Fuller, Vice President Newmaw, President Kalinowski.
Yes, and the motion carries. Our next meeting is on October 7th at 5:30 p.m. at this location. Thank you.